what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we are kicking off a new series where I'm going to be revisiting some past years and revisiting my favorite albums from those years. Today we're going to talk about the year 2000, albums that are celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. I'm going to go through my favorites from that year. If you've been a fan of my channel for a while, you may remember that I did a series like this where I went through pretty much every year my top 10 favorite albums from every year. That was a few years ago, but I felt like revisiting this and redoing these lists for a number of reasons. First of all, as the years go on, my tastes change, maybe discover some new bands, and I thought it would be fun to revisit some of these lists. I don't know if I'm going to do every single year, but I'm at least going to start off with some milestone years, such as a 25th anniversary, and go through and revisit and redo these lists. I went back and checked out some of my very early videos on this channel, and I mean, at that time, I didn't do any editing, so I didn't put up album covers in the corner. My descriptions of the albums were pretty bad, to be honest. I'm just like, it's fucking great, listen to the fucking riff, like just nonstop swearing. I was not a good video maker. Maybe I'm still not. I don't know. I feel like I've come a long way in at least a few years that I'm putting out a little bit of better material and can communicate my thoughts a little bit better. That comes with experience. But anyways, enough about that. I've taken down some of those older videos and I just felt like redoing this list and revisiting these. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm doing a top 15. There's not going to be any honorable mentions here because otherwise I'm going to list 50 or 100 albums from this year and it's just going to go on forever. I had to draw the line somewhere. So I'm doing a top 15. As usual, I would love to get your picks down below. Let me know what your favorite albums are from the year 2000 and you can look forward to more in this series in the near future. Not sure which year I'll do next, but it'll probably be a milestone year as well, whether it's 30 years, 35, 15, who knows. I'll just have some fun with it and kind of go all random, all over the place. But let's just get into this. Kicking it off, my 15th favorite album from the year 2000 is Impaled with The Dead Shall Dead Remain. This is some USA death metal mixed with grind. Very old school carcass worship, like unabashedly carcass worship. They are not afraid to wear their influences on their sleeves. So this would be for fans of a band like Carcass or a band like Exhumed. This is just gory death metal fun. They just really delivered on here. I will say I think the follow-up to this album is even better than this, but this is still a very promising debut and it's cracking my list because it's just one that I constantly go back to. It's just a lot of fun, a great death metal record. Up next in 14th, I'm going with Forefather and their album, The Fighting Man. So if you're unfamiliar with this band, they are a more underrated band. They are from the UK. This is black metal, Viking metal, whatever you want to call it. There's hints of different genres in there. It mixes harsh vocals and clean vocals. It's very epic in scope. Riffs for days. That's what this band is really known for, is just great riffs. They bring in melody and they can just play forever. The one drawback to them, not just on this album, but on all their albums, is that they use programmed drums. This is two brothers that write all the songs. So the programmed drums maybe kind of hold it back a little bit, but nonetheless, start to finish, this is just a great album by a really underrated band. So if you haven't heard Forefather, and anything I just said sounds familiar, go check it out because this album's pretty solid. Up next in 13th, I'm going with Borknagar and their album Quintessence. So a band that probably needs no introduction here. Legends from Norway, progressive black metal, very unique band for sure. This is the second album to feature ICS Vortex on lead vocals after Garm had left after the first couple albums. I will say, this being their fourth album, I don't think it's necessarily quite on the level of their first three, but that being said, this is still a very good album. The song Colossus, an all-time standout by the band, and like all in all, even if I don't think it's like my favorite by them, I'm still putting it in my top 15 of this year because it's still a great album by a great band. Borknagar never disappoints. This was no exception. Up next in 12th, I'm going with Vital Remains and their album Dawn of the Apocalypse. So this is some US death metal. By this point in their career, they've started shifting their style a little bit, bringing in a more neoclassical flair, at least to the solos and the melodies. David Suzuki had joined the band, I believe, on the previous album, and here's where he really started to shine. Like, the main man behind the band still writes all the songs. Why can't I think of his name? Dave Lazaro. I might be getting that wrong, but anyways, the rhythm guitarist has been there since the beginning. David Suzuki only joined a few albums in, but his influence is really felt here with his guitar playing. This is the only album that features the vocalist on this album. I believe his name was Thorn, and he's pretty good. Right after this, they would bring in Glenn Benton to do a couple albums, kind of in the same style, but this is the album that really kicked off their more modern style, I guess, bringing in extra melody and absolutely killer solos. Crazy blasting. Like, I like their earlier stuff too, but they really dialed it up a notch for this album, and this is just really killer death metal from start to finish. If you haven't heard this album, strongly suggest you change that. Go listen to Vital Remains. All right, up next in 11th, I'm going with Primordial and their album Spirit the Earth Aflame. So another very underrated band in my opinion. They are from Ireland, play a mix of like Celtic folk and black metal. Very unique with their style and very unique with the vocals. This is the third album by the band, and they're really coming into their own at this point, and honestly, this is one of their best, in my opinion. It really stands out in their discography. They just really have this like prideful, epic nature to their songs, yet still the core of the sound is drenched in sorrow, and it just really takes you on an emotional journey. Like, yeah, if you're unfamiliar with Primordial, this could be a good album as an introduction, because it kind of gives you some different tastes of the more black metal side, but also of the more sorrowful, epic side of their sound as well. A big Bathory influence for sure. But yeah, all in all, a very good album. Just missed out on my top 10, but any given day, it might have been in there. All right, let's get into the top 10 now. My 10 favorite albums from the year 2000. Kicking it off in 10th, Iron Maiden with Brave New World. So of course, this is a landmark album by them. A comeback, saw the return of Bruce Dickinson after a couple of, in my opinion, pretty mediocre albums from the Blaze Bayley era. Bruce Dickinson came back and really re-injected some life back into the band, and they're in fine form here. Really changed up their sound a little bit, made the Iron Maiden sound a little more modern for the new generation, and that's okay though. I mean, the stuff from the 80s has its place in the 80s. That's my favorite era of the band for sure, but this still has its place too, and this is really well done. They've gone in a more like drawn out with their long compositions style, which they kind of retained from this point on. Even on the Blaze albums, they had started going that direction as well. But yeah, a lot of long epic tracks here, but it's really well done. This one stands the test of time. Got songs like Dream of Mirrors, absolute standout. All in all, Iron Maiden had to be here. I really still dig this album. That's why it's in my top 10. Up next in 9th, I'm going with Saturnus and their album Martyre. So this band is from Denmark. They play melodic doom, death doom, doom death, however you want to label it. It's just absolutely soul-crushing doom. But when I say that, they have such a keen sense of melody as well. Like, yes, these songs are going to bring you down. They're so depressing. And I absolutely love the vocals. When he goes the more guttural death metal vocal style, he enunciates in such a clear and unique way. It really adds this extra flair to it. But then he goes with a lot of different vocal approaches as well, whether it's spoken word or kind of just like yelling at some points too. He's not afraid to try some different approaches out, but my favorite vocals of his are when he really gets guttural. And yeah, the guitar playing here just really, like I said, balances the melody and the heaviness so well. And yeah, this album is just really solid. Absolutely love it. If you're a fan of doom, give Saturnus a chance if you have not. Up next in 8th, go with Dark Moor and the album The Hall of the Olden Dreams. So this is some power metal from Spain. At this point in their discography, they still had Elisa on vocals. She was their vocalist on the first 3 albums before she left the band. She eventually went on to join Fairyland just for 1 album. But yeah, her vocals are great. Honestly, for Dark Moor, I really only listened to the first 3 albums that have her on it. I haven't listened to all their other stuff, but the first 3 are amazing. It's just exactly what I'm looking for in a power metal album. You got great solos, great melodies, really well-written songs, catchy choruses, and powerful vocals. It's just a really solid album. I feel like this band is underrated as hell. Definitely does not get enough love. Go listen to their first 3 albums if you have not. I should probably check out the rest of their stuff too, but it's these first 3 that I am constantly going back to. Dark Moor, awesome power metal. Up next, we're going to switch it to Finland with Kalmah and their debut album, Swamplord. So this is some melodic death metal, mixing in the keyboards, hints of like extreme power metal as well. Like I said, this is their debut album. Comparisons to a band like Children of Bodom are probably unavoidable, but to me, Kalmah blows them out of the water. Like, no offense to Children of Bodom, but the guitar work here, it's so good. The way it plays off the keyboards as well is just top-notch stuff. There's so many killer songs. Literally every song on this album hits the mark. Evil in You, Hades, Dance on the Water, Alteration. The guitar work is just insane. I fucking love this album. This is one of Kalmah's best, if not their best. Maybe they will return, I would give the edge to, but this is right there. And honestly, for this very specific subgenre, style of melodic death metal, I don't think it gets any better than Kalmah. Honestly, just a top tier album. Absolutely love it. Up next in 6th, we're going to stick with Finland, but switch up the genres completely. Shape of Despair with their debut album, Shades of. So this is some atmospheric funeral doom. I will admittedly say funeral doom is not always my cup of tea. It really takes something that brings in a different approach to stand out to me. And Shape of Despair really does that. Like bringing in this amazing atmosphere with the keyboards and these like ethereal female vocals in the background. And then the crushing like death vocals over top. And it's just, the atmosphere they create here, it just sucks you in. The riffs are pretty minimal on this album, but that's not what it's about. It's about the atmosphere and the emotions that it's going to make you feel. Like it just evokes such dread and sorrow, but it paints a perfect picture of that. It's just a pinnacle in this specific style of doom metal, in my opinion. And what a debut. Honestly, a killer band. And for a debut, it doesn't get much better than this. Almost put it in my top 5. It's right there. Any of these could switch order on any given day. But yeah, an absolutely stunning debut album, Shape of Despair. Now we are into the top 5, my 5 favorite albums from the year 2000. In 5th place, one of my all-time favorite bands, Enslaved, with their album Mardraum, Beyond the Within. So Norwegian progressive black metal, kind of what I said about Borknagar earlier. You could almost apply most of the same things here. But at this point in Enslaved's career, where they started more rooted in like Viking black metal, they really started getting more experimental and progressive at this stage in their discography. And in my opinion, this is a very underrated album in their discography. I don't really hear too many people talking about it as being one of their favorite Enslaved albums. But for me, it really stands out. You've still got the aggressive vocals from Grudel on the black metal style side of things, and really great riffs as well. But they're unafraid to try different approaches and experiment and do some different things within that scope. Like a band that truly has no limits. And yeah, like I said, long time been one of my favorite bands. And this is a killer album in 5th place. Up next in 4th, going with Vintersorg and his album Cosmic Genesis. So this is some Swedish progressive metal. I will say, to start Vintersorg's career, like his first EP and first 2 albums were not really progressive metal. That was more in the like straight ahead Viking folk metal, epic metal, which I absolutely love. I love those albums like Till Feels. But here, he went in a completely different direction, making it almost a clear shift into progressive metal. There's still hints of his earlier stuff, but it's just a completely different styled album. Brought in a lot of English lyrics this time around, which hadn't been done on his previous albums. And this just is full of catchy, memorable songs. I like the direction he went, even though my favorite albums by Vintersorg are the more like folky Viking kind of stuff. I still like this era of the band too. You've got songs like the title track, absolutely amazing. The Enigmatic Spirit, one of my favorite tracks on the album. Do a really cool cover of Rainbow Demon by Uriah Heep as well. All in all, I absolutely love this album. I love this band. I love his vocals. It's unique. It's different. It's amazing stuff. That's why it's very high on my list. Up next in 3rd, one of my favorite death metal bands of all time, Exhumed, with their album Slaughtercult. So this is some US death metal mixed with grind. Kind of similar style to Impaled that I mentioned earlier, but honestly, to me, Exhumed is much better at it. That's not a knock on Impaled. I love Impaled as well, but Exhumed is the masters of this specific style of death metal, in my opinion. They're one of my favorites for a reason, and this is actually my favorite album by them, being their sophomore album. Just front to back, every song in here absolutely shreds. The guitars rip here, great riffs, great solos. You got the low guttural vocals and the more high-pitched savage vocals by Matt Harvey. I absolutely love the approach here. It's just fun and gruesome death metal. So many standout songs. Forged in Fire, Forged in Flame, Funeral, Fuck, This Axe Was Made to Grind. On and on and on. Every single song on this album hits the mark. Top tier stuff. Amazing. That's why it's in third. All right, up next in second, going with some Canadian content with Vadis and their album Day Into Night. So this is a sophomore album by this little-known Canadian band. They played technical melodic death metal. Very unknown, I think, but you should go discover them if you have not. The vocals sound very much like Jeff Walker from Carcass, but musically it goes in a much different direction than that. It's bringing in such melody, and the musicianship here is just top-notch. The solos here are great. The drumming is insanely good. And just the songwriting that they've crafted together here, it's so goddamn good. I love everything about this album. It stands the test of time to me. Like, yeah, they only released 3 albums in their whole career. Their debut was okay, but here's where they really came into their own and unleashed just a massive, amazing album. You got songs like On the Shores of Ithaca, Absolution, Mute Requiem. Every song here, oh, the guitar work is just the stuff made of dreams. Absolutely amazing. If you're unfamiliar, do yourself a favor if you like melodic death metal. I wouldn't even necessarily call this a mellow death album. It's just like a nice blend of some mellow death influence with technical death metal. But yeah, if anything I said sounds like you would enjoy it, you will not be disappointed. I promise you that. And that just leaves one, my favorite album from the year 2000. I'm pretty sure when I did this list last time, this was also my number one of this year. So some of these have changed since last time, but this one was staying the same. And that is Rhapsody with Dawn of Victory. A band that should need no introduction. One of the best power metal bands out there. Italian symphonic power metal. Basically the main name in symphonic power metal. They're the top of the genre. This is their third album, and it's just absolutely amazing stuff. Whether it's the title track Dawn of Victory, or Triumph of My Magic Steel, or Holy Thunder Force, like every song here you will be singing along to. The guitar is goddamn amazing. The keyboards are amazing. The vocals are amazing. This is just top tier power metal. I never get bored of these early Rhapsody albums. Like I said, to me, this is the top of the symphonic power metal genre. And yeah, I absolutely love this band, especially this early era of them. That's why I have it in number one. So anyways, hopefully you had some fun and you can go do this exercise as well. Revisit these albums from 25 years ago and give me your picks down below. I know there's a ton of albums I missed. There's surely some that I just didn't think of as well, but limiting to 15, I can't name everything. But yeah, give me your picks because I always like reading those as well. And until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews. Out.